we begin, just a quick heads up about today's episode. We're going to talk about family conflict, political disagreement, and the ways our body react when people we love see the world differently. We'll also mention moments in history, identity-based rejection, and experiences from the LGBTQ plus folks. None of these stories are graphic, but they can stir strong feelings. So please listen in a way that feels safe for you. You can pause, breathe, and come back later. If anything here touches an old wound, know you're not alone. Compassion, boundaries, and community are all part of healing. Welcome back to the Soothing Serpent. It's that time of year again, the season of candles, casseroles, and conversations you wish you could escape with a teleportation spell. Every year as holidays approach, I start hearing the same anxious hum in sessions and coffee chats. What if Uncle Randolph brings up politics again? Do I have to invite my cousin who thinks TikTok is communist propaganda? We laugh, but we feel that weight. The fear of tension creeping in around mashed potatoes and cranberry sauce. And it's not about dinner debates. It's about belonging. It's about wanting our families to see us and still like us after. So today we're going to slow down the noise. We're going to talk about how to stay grounded when beliefs clash, how to keep your nervous system steady and your heart soft, even when the conversation gets spicy. Before we dive in, let's just land in our bodies. Take a slow inhale and gentle exhale. Notice your shoulders. If you're already climbing toward your ears, just from the word family, let them drop. You're safe right now. You're listening. You don't have to perform, defend, or fix anyone. All right, let's talk about this stuff that makes it so hard. Here's the thing. When you disagree with a stranger online, our brain treats it like a mental fencing match. When you disagree with your dad, your limbic system rings every alarm bell it's got. That's because our brains wire family to safety. Attachment equals survival. So when someone we love challenges our worldview, our nervous system whispers, uh-oh, if they're different, am I still safe? It's not logic, it's biology. That same circuitry that once warned our ancestors about predators now interprets Facebook comments as existential threats. In couples and families, this gets tangled very, very fast. Beliefs live close to identity. If I say I see that issue differently, you might hear, I don't value who you are. And when that happens, adrenaline moves in, empathy moves out, and suddenly we're 12 years old again, trying to prove we belong at the grown-ups table. Let's normalize that for a second. Feeling defensive or anxious around family conflict doesn't mean you're immature. It means your body cares about connection. The trick is learning to notice the physiological cues, the shallow breathing, the heat behind your cheeks, the urge to correct, and treat them like dashboard lights, not orders to accelerate. So maybe before you answer Aunt Linda's third, just curious question, you take a sip of water. Maybe you glance at a pet, or your feet, or the one calm cousin across the room. Small grounding moments change the whole trajectory. Because the goal isn't to win Thanksgiving or any of the holidays, it's to leave the table still feeling like yourself. So let's zoom back in time a little bit. That sense of division, of politics invading the dinner table, is not new. Let's go all the way back to the Revolutionary War. Back in the 1700s, whole households split between loyalists and patriots. Some couples literally slept on opposite sides of the revolution. Letters from time show both heartbreak and humor. Abigail Adams teasing John about remembering the ladies, while also negotiating war, independence, and household budgets. Love doesn't guarantee agreement then, either. Fast forward 90 years, the country divided again. Sometimes right down the marriage license. One spouse north, one spouse south. Brothers on opposite sides of battlefields. In famed diarist Mary Chestnut's diary, you can read the ache of wanting peace in a world determined to split itself. After the war, reunions were messy but real. Proof that compassion often rebuilds that ideology breaks. In the world wars in the 60s, each generation got its own flashpoint. World War II brought arguments about isolationism. The 1950s gave us McCarthyism's paranoia. The 1960s brought race, gender, and protest to the kitchen table. Some marriages didn't survive those changes. Others did because the partners kept talking, or at least kept listening, long enough to remember why they loved each other. And today, the difference now is just frequency. We're not arguing once a week over a shared newspaper. We're swimming 24/7 in curated outrage. Each algorithm hands us proof that we're right and they're ridiculous. It's like living in parallel universes that share a couch. So when you sit down with relatives, you're not disagreeing with them. You're disagreeing with entire ecosystems of information. So no wonder it feels impossible. But here's a hopeful truth. The human nervous system hasn't changed that much since 1776. Empathy still calms it. Curiosity still opens it. Kindness still travels away from the Wi-Fi. History reminds us that love has always been asked to stretch across difference. Our ancestors learned that staying connected often meant pausing, breathing, writing one more letter instead of slamming the door. And we can learn this now. Before we go any further, let's draw a very important line here. When I talk about staying grounded during political disagreements, I am not talking about tolerating cruelty. Disagreement is one thing. Rejection of someone's humanity is quite another. Kicking out a child because they're LGBTQ, mocking a family member's race, faith, or disability, cutting someone off for existence. That's not a difference of opinion. That's harm. You don't have to debate people who endanger your safety or your dignity. Boundaries are not bridges for abuse. They're fences that protect the garden of your peace. So if you're listening and thinking, but my family doesn't just argue, they invalidate me, please hear this. You are allowed to step back. You are allowed to skip dinner. You are allowed to skip the holidays. You are allowed to build a chosen family. You are allowed to protect your mental health over, quote, holiday harmony. Compassion has room for boundaries, and sometimes the kindest act you can offer is distance. And a reflection prompt for you: when has a disagreement in your life crossed that line into disrespect? What helped you recognize the boundary? And what does safety look like for you now? If you keep a journal, that would be an excellent question for today or when you get closer to the holidays. It gives context. Boundaries give clarity. Now let's bring it closer to home, to the relationships where differences sit beside us every single day. Maybe you and your partner check different boxes on the ballot. Maybe one of you binges cable news while the other hides in podcasts about mushroom foraging. Either way, you share a couch, a mortgage, and maybe a dog that senses tension faster than any pollster. Let's talk about what happens when the divide isn't across the dinner table, it's across the marriage. Sometimes that political divide isn't across the turkey platter. It's sitting at the other end of the couch, holding the remote. I've met so many couples who love each other deeply and still find themselves caught in the algorithm wars. One partner listens to public radio on the drive home. The other prefers talk radio that could give a blood pressure cuff a panic attack. Yet they share groceries, laundry, a mortgage, and most importantly, a life. When the person who knows your coffee order also believes a headline that makes you twitch, the conflict gets personal, first, and fast. Here's what I've learned after years of sitting with couples in that space. It's not really about politics. It's about values. Politics is just a surface argument. Underneath are questions like, do you see the world as basically fair or unfair? Do you believe safety comes from freedom or structure? Do you think people change through compassion or accountability? If you get curious about the value behind your partner's view, you start hearing what they care about, not just what they vote for. Try this small shift instead of how can you believe that? Try what life experiences made that feel true for you. You might not agree with the answer, but you'll understand the story behind it. Understanding is the bridge. Agreement is optional. And yes, sometimes that bridge is really rickety. Sometimes it's held together with duct tape and a prayer. That's okay. Connection isn't about perfect construction. It's about choosing to cross again tomorrow. Let's be clear, too. Loving someone doesn't mean absorbing every opinion like emotional osmosis. Boundaries still matter. You can say, I love you, but this topic overwhelms me. Can we talk about something lighter? That's not avoidance. That's emotional pacing. Think of it like conversational CPR, compressions of honesty followed by breaths of rest. And sometimes when tempers flare, repair starts with physiology, not philosophy. Take 20 minutes apart, walk the dog, fold laundry, breathe fresh air. Let your heart rate drop below 100 beats per minute before you try again. You're not stalling, you're regulating. I do this with my couples all the time, that I say, hey, your body's like an emotional thermometer. You want to keep it below your mouth because once the emotions get to your mouth, you don't know what you're saying. And once it gets a little bit higher up to your ears, you don't really pay attention to what you're hearing, and you need to take those breaks and let your body regulate. And when you come back from that regulation, start with tone, not topic. Say things like, that got heated. I don't want to sound like strangers. Can we try again? Because the goal isn't to win the argument. It's to protect the relationship that hosts it. If you've been to marriage counseling and sometimes just regular counseling too, you'll know that every heated discussion lives in the nervous system long after the words go bye-bye. Shoulders will still tighten, digestion slows, breathing goes shallow. Basically, your body mistakes Aunt Linda for a saber-toothed tiger. Here are a few quick resets you can use anywhere. Number 1 is the exhale anchor. Just like I kind of just did. Inhale for 4, exhale for 6. The long exhale tells your vagus nerve you're safe. Orienting. Turn your head slowly and name 5 things you see. It reminds your brain this room is not a battlefield. And yes, this is the first step of the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 grounding technique that we see a lot of times in therapy. A temperature shift. Hold something cool or run your wrists underwater. And that will help drop the adrenaline spike. And my favorite, animal co-regulation. If there's a creature near you, dog, cat, reptile, crab, fish, notice its rhythm. Most animals breathe slower than we do. Match it for 30 seconds, and you'll have instant biofeedback. And for couples, Sometimes let's take a walk together does more for unity than a 2-hour debate. Shared movement synchronizes heart rates. Your body literally remembers partnership. Also, if you're both grumpy, maybe eat something. 90% of political fights, my data set of life, start at the intersection of low blood sugar and cable news. All right, wherever you are, it's time for the Soothing Serpent. Today featuring Neville, my banana ball python. So close your eyes or soften your gaze. Feel the weight of your body wherever it rests. Imagine a gentle coil at the base of your spine, not tension, but presence. The serpent represents awareness, grounded, alert, never rushed. As you breathe in, imagine that coil expanding just enough to give you space. As you exhale, imagine shedding what isn't needed. The static of debate, the echo of arguments that don't serve connection. Breathe in patience, breathe out reactivity. Breathe in curiosity, breathe out certainty. Notice the temperature of the air on your skin, the small noises around you, the pulse that proves you're here. You don't have to fix anyone to be at peace. You just have to stay with yourself. Take one more breath, and when you're ready, open your eyes or simply return to what you were doing with a little more room inside your chest. If you would like to journal or reflect on what we talked about today, here are a couple of prompts that might be useful for you. What happens in your body when someone challenges your beliefs? Which of your values feels non-negotiable? Which might hold space for curiosity? When was the last time you felt truly heard during a disagreement? What made that possible? And finally, what boundaries keep our peace intact without shutting out love? Finally, Neville and I would like to recommend further reading or listening. Anchored by Deb Dana is a gentle guide to befriending your nervous system. High Conflict by Amanda Ripley is stories of people who found a way out of polarization. Set Boundaries, Find Peace by Nedder Glover Tawwab is a political emotional protection. The Gottman Institute, which is known for their couples communication, has tools for couples navigating differing beliefs. Braver Angels, which is a nonprofit that holds workshops on depolarizing dialogue. And as always, if you need grounding, step outside, breathe, and maybe check with your pets and see what they're teaching you about being in their presence, about being relaxed and being grounded. So as you head into this season, whatever that looks like, remember, you don't have to solve your family's politics. You just have to stay kind and steady in yours. Maybe someone will surprise you with empathy. Maybe someone won't. Either way, your worth doesn't depend on their understanding. When conversations heat up, let curiosity be your cooling system. When silence feels heavy, let compassion fill the space. And if it all becomes too much, step away, breathe, shed the old tension, and begin again, just like the serpent. Because shedding isn't loss, it's renewal. Every breath, every boundary, every pause at the table is an act of choosing peace over performance. Thank you for spending time with me. I'm Kristen, and this has been the Soothing Serpent. Until next time, may your breath stay steady, your boundaries gentle, and your heart bravely open. Thank you.